Well, hello, everyone. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Welcome to Fridays with Sandy. We have Sandy Kreisberg, the founder of HBS Guru here.
Aloha, everybody, and happy Labor Day in the States.
So we have a candidate in Australia, born in Vietnam. He has a 740 GMAT. GPA comes to around 3.4. And he is aiming to go to Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, MIT, or Chicago Booth. He's 25 years of age. He's currently working at a company called Transurban Group, which literally owns roads and puts tolls on them. They're based in Sydney. He's a corporate finance analyst for that company, which is among the top 15 high cap companies in Australia. Before that, he spent 2 years.
Publicly traded.
And publicly traded. And before that, he spent 2 years as an analyst, a year as an investment banking analyst, and a year at an investment fund.
Did we get the undergraduate experience at the Jain School of Global Management in Sydney?
Yeah, which is interesting too. SP Jain School of Global Management, where you spend a year in Singapore, a year in Dubai, and in his case, 2 final years in Sydney, getting his undergraduate degree, where his major was finance.
He's a finance guy. Okay. I think the most important issue, 740 GMAT is good, 3.6 GPA is acceptable.
And I should point out, you know, when Sandy says 3.6 and I said 3.4, it's because it's on a 4.3 scale, unusual scale for us. So bringing it down to a 4.0 level, it's more like 3.4.
But you have an idea of your class standing? That's what they really care about.
Yeah, I would say that I'm at least in the top 20 to top 15, given that we all ranked on a bell curve for each class as well.
Okay.
Okay. Top 20%,
so top 20%, right? More or less, yeah. In your case. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is going to be real important. What is the trend? Your current employer is the Transurban Group, where you're a corporate finance analyst, and they're in Sydney, Australia. Okay, very important question. Do people from the Transurban Group apply to MBA programs in North America and Europe?
Yeah, I don't think there are a whole lot or anyone that I know of is applying or have applied, although I know that one of our group executive is actually an HBS alum. But I'm not sure if, you know, she went to business school first and she came back to Australia or vice versa.
Yeah, okay. So in usual, people don't apply. So why are you applying?
So I think I find the experience going to business school very transformative in a way, because I had experience going to different countries just because of business school. And I think given my goal, I wanted to work in private equity in long term. I think an experience in business school will be very helpful for me to get that, you know, not only the technical skills, but the people skills, how to manage deals and transaction. And I think
so
business school
to outline your career, let's say you go to business school, one of your target schools. What job would you want after you graduate, or your first summer internship?
Yeah, so my plan is when I get to business school, I will be preparing for an associate internship at one of the major banks in the United States. And I'm targeting, you know, either Goldman Sachs, who has some interesting work in infrastructure, or if I can work in, you know, Macquarie Capital, which is also a big infrastructure leader in the field.
Okay, well, a lot of people want to do that, but so you're a male. You're in finance, so that's a real finance male. That's a competitive cohort, and you're be competing with a lot of Indian guys and a lot of white guys. So you're in a competitive cohort. That's something, that's just a fact of life. To me, outline your career after so after business school, you want to be one of these they call them analysts. Is that the term, John?
Well, in his case, he would want to be an associate. So that's
associate is the MBA, where you're going to be an associate. So then tell me what happens after that. You're an associate. Let's say you go to Goldman Sachs. Your dream comes true. You're an associate at Goldman Sachs. You're working 100 hours a week. What do you want to happen next?
Yeah, good question. I do think that at Goldman Sachs, I'd like to work on a wider range of infrastructure type projects, and from there, I'll build good network of relationships with people in the field, and then move to private equity afterwards.
Do you want to go back to Australia?
I think that is something that I'm thinking about, but I think the US would be a great market. No, I'm not.
Now, infrastructure obviously is hot. The United States is going to invest shortly more money in infrastructure than it ever has since the highways were built in the 1950s. This is your passion. Why, in fact, are you passionate about that?
Yeah, particularly since the role you play is as a you just do the modeling, the financial modeling. Like that's kind of infrastructure, but you could model anything. Right?
Yeah, that is very true, and I think I like infrastructure because I like the tangible asset side of it that is grand, and having been to different countries, I really appreciate how it changed the landscape of the country, and it does have a great social impact as well. And from personally, that the tangible asset really give me a great sense of achievement in a way that it has motivated me a lot in my personal life. So I really enjoy working in infrastructure.
Now, William, one thing we don't get from your resume is your personal story. And I wonder if you have an interesting personal story that would help set you apart from any other guy doing finance.
So I'm a first generation college student, and also now an immigrant who kind of tried to get my way around, moving to different countries and settling.
Where were you born, and when did you emigrate to Australia?
Yeah, so I was born in Vietnam, and I decided to go to uni, or the S-Vision school, when I was 18. So that's when I moved to Singapore moved overseas for the very first time. And then Dubai and Sydney. And post-graduation, I really like living and working in Sydney. It's a very different landscape compared to Vietnam. So that I decided I try to settle here, and only in May this year I got my Australian citizenship through a migration program.
So you're an Australian citizen. That's good to know. You've led an active, mobile life, and you've dealt with a lot of government bureaucrats moving in and out of countries and getting visas and passports, etc.
So William, what do your parents do for a living?
So my mom run her own food store back in Vietnam, like kind of a family tradition. They didn't really go to college, or they didn't really have any education. So that's kind of my motivation as well to work hard here in Australia and help out my family back in Vietnam.
And when you say foot store, what does that mean? Is she sold shoes or what?
No, like food, as in like
oh, food. Okay, she ran a food store. Okay.
Yeah, like a vendor. Yeah.
Sure.
Good. Okay, here's a question for you. suppose somebody said, boy, there's a lot here. Well, okay, what's your first choice? What business school do you want to go to most?
I think HBS. It's my dream school, definitely.
Good. Okay. Tell me why they should admit you.
Yeah, so I think I'm motivated and passionate about going to school because I understand it's a very transformative process and a great way to build good relationships with others. And from my experience moving around, and even from Vietnam to Sydney, like relationships is what I really value, and being in a cohort with like incredibly smart people that I can learn from, and also maintain that relationships later on is very important for me.
Yeah, well, that's half the answer. What the half that's missing is what's your dowry, if you know what I'm talking about. What can you bring to them?
I think I can bring a perspective of an immigrant, also first gen immigrant that
Yeah, they got a lot of them.
trying.
You make it more specific.
Yeah, so I understand how hard it is to, move around and also try to find
You got to make it specific. What I can contribute, what cases could you make a substantive contribution based on your professional and personal background? Like the way you answer this question is, well, I can contribute my personal story, which involves being born in Vietnam and emigrating to Australia, and then working in countries, going to school in Singapore, Dubai, and Sydney. So and also I know a lot about infrastructure. So if there are cases about X or Y or Z, I would have firsthand experience. That's the way you answer that question.
Also, he's working for a company that's dependent on partnerships with the public. So there's this private public aspect to your resume that very few people would have.
Good point. So you understand the outline of the answer?
Yeah.
Well, let me add. Let's give you a quick test here. Okay, it's your HBS interview. They say, "Wow, this is pretty interesting. What do you know about the case method?" And you go, "Yeah, I do know about the case method. People use their personal experiences to help analyze standard cases." And they go, "Good. What can you contribute? What cases could you contribute to?"
Yeah, so I think Western Access is a great example that, from which I can draw my experience to in country to classroom, and being the largest infrastructure project in Australia, there are a lot of hoops that the team had to jump through. And that's basically about how the government runs the transaction and try to keep it as independent as it can, given that we have Transurban
you're not giving an answer. You're thinking out loud. If you know the difference, what you're doing is you're just thinking out loud as if you were making notes on a piece of paper, and then you were going to go home and sleep on it, and then come up with an answer. You've got to do better than that. I'm not giving you a hard time, man. You've got a powerful story, but I could see you having trouble with the interview. When they say what you could contribute, you've got to say, I think I can contribute several things. For cases that deal with infrastructure, I certainly know firsthand, blah, blah, blah. But, I think my contribution goes beyond that. I think I can deal with cases that deal with companies dealing with governments. I think I have insight in cases where you've got two or more sovereign players involved, blah, blah, blah. I also think I'm familiar with the way investment banking is run in different countries, and particularly in the Southern Hemisphere.
Yeah.
You get it?
Yeah.
You got to work that up. And you could do a better job answering that because, you know your life.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you want to say it like this. I was directly involved in one of the largest infrastructure projects in the world, period. I did the modeling and the managing of the valuation model for a $30 billion toll road. Just clean and clear as that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing you can contribute. But what about cases that don't deal with $30 billion toll roads? What could you contribute?
So I think I can use my experience working with the government and who sponsor the project, and also from equity partners who are involved in bidding for the asset, and how they work together, and how we put our best foot forward in that benefit every stakeholders.
Yeah, blah, blah, blah. What could you contribute to a case that has nothing to do with roads or infrastructure?
I think my experience in dealing with different people who has different priorities would apply in any case studies, that any case study, and that will be helpful for me and other classmates to learn how to be either more confrontational or trying to reconcile different ideas and different objectives.
As an immigrant, you've had to navigate through an entirely different society and culture.
Yeah, we got that, but you should be able to go beyond that. What you need is your whatever they call it, your selling position, your brag sheet.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what a brag sheet is?
No, really, but I kind of get the idea.
You get the idea, yeah.
Yeah.
You have what you need in your pocket. Not that they ask for it, but it's something you can use to answer a lot of questions. You really need in almost bullet form what makes you distinctive, what you can contribute. I come from Vietnam. I've worked for different companies. I know infrastructure on different continents. I've also dealt with projects as varied as social disability housing. You see that they love that, boy. That's music to their ears. Okay, I'm familiar with how to fund nonprofit housing, particularly housing for disabled groups. I've worked with forestry assets. I've privatized forests. Wow, that'll make you popular.
Now, let me just say one other point that I think is very helpful to anyone out there, particularly people who work for companies that are not well known or are outside of America, and you're applying to an American business school. In this case, when we looked at William's resume, he has Transurban Group / Corporate Finance Analyst, Sydney. But no one in America knows what the Transurban Group is. So it's very important after that line to put in a description of what that company is, what it does, that it's publicly listed, how large it is, to give a sense of its importance.
Amen. Thank you, John, for reminding us of something that came up earlier. You got to do that. That's resume writing number one.
Yep. Thank you.
I think good point, John.
So what are William's odds? What do you think? And obviously cleaning up the story.
Okay, let's say you present yourself the way we're telling you to present yourself. Let me ask you a question. What you need at Stanford, what I often say is what you need to get into Stanford once you've passed the usual filters, like having a prestige job and a high GMAT and GPA. You need something distinctive. So what's distinctive about it? What would attract Stanford's attention?
Can I use the immigrant card again?
Well, among the immigrant pool.
I think about something about my personal story, that how moving to different countries actually helped me with my family stuff. Yeah.
The generic answer for Stanford, and I say this every week and nobody ever remembers it, is overcoming adversity is a good thing. It's a good storyline for Stanford. You know, I overcame adversity, and then I experienced personal growth through overcoming adversity that gave me a wide range of empathy, which I was then able to pay forward. Okay. I would never use those words, but because those are all cliches, but they are accurate cliches. What you need to do is then personalize those cliches and present yourself to Stanford in that way. Got it.
Yep, absolutely. Yes.
I'm glad you got it, because everyone else listening to this thinks they get it, but when I talk to them, they don't get it. But what are you gonna do? If they got it, I wouldn't be in business. So where everybody's.
So what are William's odds if he does these different things? What at Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, MIT, and Chicago Booth?
Okay, you are classic Wharton material, man. They go for guys like you. They'll go for the 740. They'll go for the 3.6 or whatever it is. They'll go for everything we're talking about. They love guys like you. They're big. They like infrastructure. They like internationals. I think your chances at Wharton, I think your chances of moving ahead to a Wharton interview are very strong. I'd be surprised if you didn't get interviewed there. So I think your chances of getting interviewed are 50% or higher. And those odds are also true for every school except Harvard and Stanford. At HBS, I think you're a solid candidate, man. You check all their boxes. The ones we've mentioned several times. It's just that there's a lot of guys like you. And it's just breaking out of that pack. So I think your chances of getting interviewed at Harvard are 30 to 40%, which is about as high as I go. There's just a lot of luck in getting interviewed at Harvard. I think Stanford, we often say at Stanford you need an X factor, and I'm not sure we've got an X factor here, except maybe it's not a capital X. You maybe got a small X factor just in the geography that you come from Australia and you've had some interesting, important jobs and the numbers line up. What is missing in Stanford? You're not. Well, let me make sure I haven't missed this. What's your do-gooder resume?
Yeah, so I mentor university students in more financial modeling skills, and also I kind of help them, get a job in Australia when they graduate, and that is very specific to only international students, and also lead a project in the CFA Society of Sydney.
Yeah, John. Why is that a A-, not an A+ extracurricular?
Yeah, because it's not, you didn't create something or lead something.
It's too close to home. You didn't come up with something that has an impact beyond yourself. You're just, it's too easy. It almost falls into your lap. I don't want to minimize it. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's a very positive thing, but it won't get you many brownie points at Stanford.
At Stanford. So I think your chances at Stanford are less than someone with the same story with better extracurriculars.
Yeah. Now there's one line on personal interest in this resume that is a line I have never seen in my life on any resume. And I want to bring attention to it because I'm wondering whether you should include it or not. and I'm going to just read it. A houseplant enthusiast caring for 30 indoor plants. Now, I've never seen anything like that before, and I think it's kind of cool, to be honest, because it's so different. What do you think about that, Sandy?
I would leave. I find it odd, and I think somebody might find it odd. On the other hand, somebody could argue, well, you might find somebody who loves plants, and they might like you for it. I personally would omit it.
You
I
would.
think the downside is too much.
Yeah.
I do think
point
it's
were you
kind of a
trying to
cool. Look, you've never seen that on a resume anywhere, and it is unusual. And I wonder if, in fact, that takes him, with one of the female admission staffers at his school.
Now, John,
it could be. You'll be remembered as the plant guy, okay? And maybe being remembered as any guy when you're a white, when you're a male in finance is helpful.
I'll find that later. This goes to show you the state of my own mind here.
All right.
I don't think it's important. I think the downside is more than the upside. Is there something you can build from it? Does it lead to something else?
Do you mean as in within the house plan thing, or like completely different?
Well,
interests?
yeah, you're interested in you belong to organizations that help preserve forests, things like that.
No, sorry, not really.
Instead of funding, aren't you the guy who raised money to cut down trees to make roads or something?
I was in the privatization project.
Yes. I wouldn't
Let me
put
just
that
say
in
this.
there either.
Wait, if you work for Goldman Sachs 100 hours a week, you might find it a challenge to water all those plants.
Okay.
All right. Well, there you have it. William, good luck to you. It's been a pleasure spending this time with you in Australia. Sandy, thank you for your assessment.
Yeah, good day. Is that the way they say? Hey, let's hear you say that.
Good day. Yeah.
There you
Good
go.
one.
Yeah.
Good day to
Thank
you
you,
and to
John.
all of you out there.
Thank
This is
you,
John
Cindy.
Byrne with Poets and Quants. Thanks for watching.
Adios. Have a good weekend, everybody.